Great morning, esteemed Springville High School students. You are welcome to this edition of week presentation, and the topic we are going to be discussing is acid. So, we'll be interested in the definition of acid. We'll be interested in types of acid, sources of acid, strengths of acid, properties of acid, and uses of acid. So, students, we are asked to define an acid. You can define acid as any substance which, when dissolved in water, produces hydrogen or hydrozonium ion as the only positive ion. That's very simple. So when you are asked to define an acid, it said acid is any substance which, when dissolved in water, produces hydrogen or hydrozonium ion as the only positive ion. Now, the key example we are going to look at here is when you dissolve H2SO4 in water, that is aqueous, you are going to have 2H plus a corresponding negative radical, SO42 minus. That's the first example. So, if you ask to give another example of this statement, you can actually say dissolving hydrogen gas in water. So when you do that, you're going to have H3O plus. This is called hydrozonium ion. So you can see that in this very solution, we have hydrozonium ion. So you can actually say that an acid is any substance which, when dissolved in water, produces hydrogen or hydrozonium ion as the only positive ion. So we are going to forge ahead to take types of acids. We have types of acids. In chemistry, there are two types of acid. We have organic acids, and two, we have inorganic acids. Now, organic acids are those acids obtained from living organism. Those acids that is obtained from living organism. Take for example, so the key example of what we are going to be mentioning as an example of organic acid, we have methanoic acids. So methanoic acids, it can be written as CH4COOH. This is a methanoic acid. Another good example of organic acid is ethanoic acid. Students, the formulas are very expedient, but these are the things that make up that very compound. So we have CH3COOH as your ethanoic acid. We also have tartaric acid. And this tartaric acid is also an example of organic acid. We also have lactic acid. This is also an acid gotten from living things. Okay, let's look at sources of acids. All these acids we have mentioned. Before we proceed to the sources of acid, let's look at sources of inorganic acids. Sources of organic acid, please. Of organic what? Acids. So we have organic acid here. Then we have the sources. Number one, I mentioned metanoic acid. Metanoic acid. Where do we get metanoic acid? We got it from ants. We got that from bee. We got that from needle sting. This is where we get our metanoic acid. Then the next one we have is ethanoic acid. Ethanoic acid. Where do we get ethanoic acid from? From soured palm wine. This is where we get your ethanoic acid. We also have the one we call tartaric acid. Tartaric acid. It is obtained from grapefruits. So we also have another organic acid which is called the ascorbic acid. The ascorbic acid, which can also be called vitamin C. This is typical exam question. And this ascorbic acid is gotten from orange juice. Orange juice. Then we have the lactic acid. The lactic acid. An example of this source where we can get our lactic acid is soured milk of mama. Note: human being typically is what is a particular species of animal that possess this very lactic acid or lactose. So note, it is human being once we're asked in the question. So let's also look at some other things based on what we have in this edition of presentation. We're going to be looking at other interesting. What we have next now is inorganic acids. Inorganic acids. When we talk about inorganic acids, we say that these are acid prepared. These are acid prepared in the laboratory. These are acid that you prepare in the what? Laboratory. Which means that it is not natural, it is not organic. It's something that we can prepare in the laboratory. So the key examples of this inorganic acid, we have H2SO4, which is tetraoxo sulfate 6 acid. Then we also have HNO3, which is trioxo nitrate 5 acid. Then we also have HCl, which is called hydrochloric acids. So these are the key examples of acid that we use that we have as an inorganic acid or that we prepare in the laboratory. So we are going to also, from what we have in our outline, we are going to look at the strength of an acid. We are going to look at the strength of an acid. When we talk about strength of an acid, we are trying to say what will be the ionization or how will this acid ionize when you put them inside water. Okay, so based on that, we have acid that ionize partially in water, and this is called weak acid. Weak acid. So therefore, weak acid are those acids when they dissolve in water ionizes partially. Example of this weak acid we're talking about, most organic acids are examples of what? Weak acids. For example, we have CH3, COOH. This is your ethanoic what? Acids. And this, when you dissolve this in water by making it aqueous, what will happen? It is going to dissociate into uh, H plus CH3 COO minus. This is what you're going to have. So this is an indication that this is a weak acid because about 0.04% of this of hydrogen ionized when you dissolve this in water. So I have many other examples that can be termed as weak acid. But let's go to the next aspect. There are still a form of acid that ionize completely in water when dissolved in water. And that kind of acid is called strong acid. So there are two perspectives of strength of an acid, weak acid and strong acid. So we say that strong acid are those acids when dissolved in water ionizes completely. Full stop. So a key example of it is those mineral acids. Mineral acids are basically the strong acid. We have, for example, H2SO4. This is an example of a strong acid. We also have HCl, ETC. So this is what we refer to as the strong acid. Okay, let's proceed more. I hope the class is exciting and you are getting and digesting everything we have been teaching now. This will prepare you for greater career prospects. Now we are going to look at properties of acids. Okay, here when we talk about property, we are looking at physical properties. Physical properties of acid. So one of the physical properties of acid is that dilute acid have a sour taste, which means that when you have a sour taste. When you test a dilute acid, it's going to have what? A sour taste. The next one is that concentrated acids are corrosive. Now, students, when we say corrosive, it means that it can attack the body, it can attack the skin, it can burn. So that's the meaning of corrosive. So note, this corrosive means that this very acid can burn the skin. So that's the meaning of corrosive. Okay. We also say that dilute acid then blue litmus paper red. So this is another good example of another physical property of an acid. So when you, for example, when you pick an indicator called litmus paper and then you dip it into a dilute acid, that blue litmus paper will change to red. So that is what this is all about. So thank you for, I know you've enjoyed the class, and I promise you another exciting and educative video in our next class.